Good morning. It's Sunday and it is March 15th. I had to look at my calendar there. Welcome to the Civic Pulse with David Bonior and Stephen Briggs. And we have a special guest, Katie Hogan from the Herald Washington wing of the Chicago Democratic Party. How are you all doing today? David, let's start with you. How are you feeling?
How am I feeling? Well, I'm getting over a cold too. I think Katie has a cold as well. So I'm not feeling so hot, but I'm ready to go. I mean, I'm interested in what's happening in the news and talking to three friends about it today on the show. So looking forward to it.
Great. How about you, Stephen? How's it going in DC there?
I'm sick as well, so I think I'm just joining the crew of sick people. But other than that, I'm feeling good and ready to talk.
You should put a mask on, Brian.
I'm glad we're remote on this. This is very good. Katie, how are you feeling in Chicago?
I am not sick. I just have this pretty, recurring cough.
Okay. Sorry.
Depleted lungs. So I just wanted to say, we've got this pattern here. We got two quasi well, two quasi sick. I think we reflect the country this morning.
50-50. Yeah.
I'm holding an AI conference I've been planning for 12 months this week, and so I will feel much more relaxed. It's an AI educational conference, which AI is. We'll talk about that topic maybe later in this show, but let's start with
We'll never talk about that topic in this show. It's like another one of those. No, I'm just kidding. AI freaks me out.
It should freak you out, I think. Let's start with the big news of the day. We have a crazy war in the Middle East that we're not sure why we started and where it's going, and over 1,000 people dead across the Middle East and Iran and in Lebanon. David, where do you see this this war with very few goals and a very confusing? What's the end game here?
It seems like it's drifting, and I don't know that they know, they being the president and the administration, where the end game is or how to get to there. So I think we've got a real major crisis in our hands. This is a large part of the world, and there are many countries involved. It's not just, Israel and Iran and the United States. There's close to a dozen other countries that are affected, including even Ukraine, because what's happening with Trump taking off the sanctions on Russia, that's giving them more money to fight Ukraine. So it's a complicated situation, and I don't think the administration has any idea on how to get out of this. And the Straits of Hormuz is a mess right now. There's bombing going on, mining going on. And it's going to be difficult to get a hold of that by the administration, Trump and his people and Israel. So I see this. I don't see an end to this. And they desperately want an end because they know they've gone probably too far. They're making the big case that they've destroyed most of what Iran has on the seas and what they have in their arsenal. But they're tough people, and almost 100 million people in Iran, and they have the radicals are extremists in Iran are in control. So we'll see.
Stephen, what are you hearing from the DC from the restaurant? Are people behind this war, or are they skeptical?
I've not found anybody that's behind the war. And I would say, the unpredictability of the Trump administration just in general leaves you wondering and, having no idea where this is going to go. But that also is one of those things with Trump where you just feel like he could just say it is over and just leave chaos, which I'm fearful is probably what's going to happen. And then you have the Israeli component as well, which they clearly want to, progress with this and keep going. So it's going to be it's a scary situation over there.
Katie, you're with a lot of the peace activists in Chicago. What's the word there?
Well, it's terrifying. It's horrifying. It's an extremely fragile situation, and we've got a guy with going in there with gun boots, holding hands with Bibi Netanyahu. I mean, what could be a worse scenario? And everybody that's being affected by this, as David indicated, I mean, Lebanon's getting bombed like crazy. Uh, if if they continue in the Straits of Hormuz, I mean, it's really a nightmare situation. And the fact, of course, that we are now spending in excess of 10 billion a day on this 13, 14, 15-day war. Um, no, it's completely unacceptable, and particularly, and there's some people who, and I saw this happen a little bit online. When America goes to war, they immediately switch into, okay, back the troops. Um, this is a bad mission, and it's led by people who don't know the meaning of mission. Uh, do I need to say the word Hegseth? I mean, it, so I really, I think the job right now for us is pay attention to every moment that we have to diselect the people who are sitting on their hands, which is all the Republicans, and elect some fired up people who are ready to go in there with boxing gloves on. I mean, we've been missing that for the last year or so. So we have some races happening here in the States. I know you want to ask me about them. So
I'm going to segue to that in a second. Just to put a little punctuation on this, because I was saying, I think this war is going to just end when Trump decides the political heat is too high, and he's just going to say declare victory and walk away. And so I'm guessing if oil stays at 100, it's a few dollars short of that now. Stock market goes to 45, that he'll just cut it, and Tucker Carlson will get in his ear, because there is a wing. What gives me hope for the war ending is there is a large wing in the Republican Party that does not like this war. I'm calling it the Tucker Carlson wing because I think he's the most visible faction of that. But you see, give me a prediction before we hop on to Democratic politics and where it's heading. How many days or weeks or months do you think this goes on, David?
Well, I can't give you a timeline on this one. This is he's too unpredictable. I think your prediction that he's getting nervous for the reasons you have just given, it could be very accurate. But it won't be that easy to extricate yourself from a situation in which you've caused a major havoc and chaos in an important region of the world. So that will still go on.
Yeah.
And he, despite what he's, in spite of what he's done, it will continue, and he will be responsible for this.
Stephen, you got any gut feeling on this?
Mine is very similar to what you just said and what we're all kind of saying. I mean, it's going to be, he really is concerned about his numbers here at home, and as things start to crumble and we get closer week after week, as we get closer to these elections, he's going to do what you say. He's just going to declare victory, but the Middle East is just going to be a total mess. So, but yeah. I have no predictions.
Yeah, there's some good interesting stories I just recommend. The New York Times has a piece about Eisenhower and getting overly cocky in the 50s when they were able to take out the Iran leadership in the 50s. That's the CIA, and in Guatemala, and that leading to the Bay of Pigs fiasco, and drawing the lines to the Venezuelan, the success in Venezuela, breeding overconfidence going into Iran. That history repeats itself quite a bit here. So, and I think Ezra Klein has a really good extended interview on the history of Iran. This whole thing started 100 years ago, and I think most Americans don't take time reading the history of it, if not 1,000, 200 years.
I just want to make one comment to what Katie said with regard to our partnership here. It is really horrific. Partnering with Bibi Netanyahu, he was a war criminal.
Yep.
This guy is responsible for the deaths of tens and tens of thousands of people in Gaza and other places, and his government. And for us to get in bed with him again, I'm embarrassed to say we got in bed with him through Biden.
Yeah.
And so I just think this is it's really a sick situation.
So our main political topic dovetails with this because Illinois, we have two Illinoisans on this show, Katie and myself, and we have a big primary election in a couple days. And the war and the politics of the Middle East are playing out in Illinois. And what's fascinating about the Illinois Democratic Party is it's a representation of the national party, a similar amount of white voters, black voters, Latino voters. And so you get this election, in my mind, is also a snapshot of where the Democratic Party is nationally. So I just encourage our viewers to pay attention to the Illinois election. And there's some really interesting races that will, and money pouring in from different sources. So we brought on our Illinois political expert, Katie, to kind of give us a rundown of what's happening and what it means for the national Democrats. Katie, what are you seeing here in Illinois?
Well, people use the word split in the Democratic Party all the time. It's just easy. There have always been splits, plural, in the Democratic Party, always. When people are ticked off enough about something, or they get a good enough candidate, Democrats vote like crazy people. I mean, they come out. However, we have had lackluster candidates, and a very depressed populace at this point. And so it's a different milieu in which to try and knock doors or call people on the phone and say vote. It's a very different view. This war only makes it worse, quite frankly. So what you see,
let me cue you up. Hang on one second, Katie. I want to take one race because you and I live in the 9th Congressional District where Jan Schakowsky stepped down. She had served for 20 plus years. And we have about 9 candidates running, but it's come down to 3 candidates, probably, maybe 4 who have a chance, right?
Right.
In Israel.
They had 16 candidates
Yeah.
originally. So, yeah, it's down to the top 4, but only one gets the thing. And it's winner takes all. There's no runoffs in this. And like people still have confusion about it. There are no runoffs here. So yeah,
give us the rundown of the 4 candidates. You have who's in the lead right now?
Mayor of Evanston, Dan Biss. He's been in politics a while. He was in the state legislature for a while. He didn't he have an executive office before mayor? I can't come up with his. Anyway, Dan Biss. He's the front runner.
J Street, backed by J Street, the more liberal Jewish lobby. And this is this district's been traditionally like the Jewish district in Illinois almost. It led by Sid Yates.
Sid Yates, who was the congressman before Jan, who actually did closer to 30 years in the Congress. Yeah. Sid Yates did 40 plus. Yeah. And yeah, it has always, because of the population of the district, was called the Jewish district. The district has changed boundaries quite significantly in the last 2 elections. You and I know that because Brian and I actually drive to places to canvass together. Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about money and candidates, right?
Yeah. So second candidate in the 9th is who?
Well, we've got, I think, I have not seen a recent poll, and I don't know how to trust polls, but I think Kat Abou-Ghazaleh and Laura Fine are very close together, but I think Kat is second.
Kat? This is quick. Who is Kat Abou-Ghazaleh? Nobody's heard of her except if you're on social media.
Oh,
She's
no.
26.
You're wrong there, Brian.
Is that true?
I mean, yeah, no, you're right about social media. Everybody has heard of her because she's on social media. Kat Abou-Ghazaleh appeared in Chicago and in TV in 2 different moments. First, she lived where people who have money live in Streeterville, and then she realized she was going to run for office in the 9th CD. and moved up here. If you hear the sarcasm in my voice, just think the word carpetbagger, which everybody has been really ticked off about people using because of its historical significance. And I didn't even know that, but you'll learn something new every day. But she moved here from Texas. She's of money, had money before she even declared she was running. She declared she was running before Jan actually had stepped down, which some Jan lovers were like, how rude. But I mean, what's not rude about politics, please? Um, so she is a phenomenon. I like her spirit a lot. She made a self uh, a, uh, attack ad on one of her commercials. I love creative use of the terrible things we've come used to, which is political ads on TV. She turned one against herself. It was well done. So I think she's smart and quick. I am not sure she's not MAGA. So I am not voting for her. I am really not sure. You got what we have to be aware of is these people will insert people, and she is kind of a likely picture of it. No one knows her history. She has no history of service that she can point to or organizing whatsoever. She has no need to claim whatever she might have done that might lead to us thinking she belongs in Congress. Congress, mind you. We're not talking she's starting at, city clerk. She wants to go to
A really
Congress.
good shot at winning though, because she is the most media savvy person I've ever seen though, Katie. She's
Absolutely.
26. She's got
Yes.
1 million followers online, and she's polling right now. The latest poll is Biss about 24. She's at 20, but she's got the momentum. If young people turn out, she's going to win. She's
I know.
Palestinian descendant from Texas. The third candidate in the APAC supported candidate is Laura Fine, right?
That's right. State
and-
rep.
And the APAC's pouring a lot of money into this race. We're getting mailers every day attacking, but it seems like it's having a boomerang effect. Wouldn't you say? Because seems like she's going down in popularity.
Yeah, I misspoke. She's state senator, not state rep. But, well, she has never been a real out there campaigner in this particular run. And I didn't, because she's up north of me, I never saw her campaign before. But she's invisible as far as I can see, other than the ads. And because she's now so tied with APAC, that is definitely having a boomerang effect in this election across the board. And, we talked before we got on about some of the other congressional races. I think we should look at this as a national trend. I think I'm crossing fingers about the results of this election that we don't get any of the APAC supported Congress people in. We've got 4 Democrats running with lots of APAC money. And, I hate to paint anything with a broad brush these days, particularly something as completely touchy as the situation in Israel. But APAC is an animal of its own making. Plus, now they have, what did you call them? Shell.
Yeah, they're hiding that they're APAC. They're using
They're using other names to disguise who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes, we do have a lot of sharp people keeping their eye out for that because they make us aware of it. Thank heavens. But that sort of thing is kind of ugly. Raja Krishnamurti doesn't, I think, have a chance. And he is the most, he's the most APAC supported, I think, right?
Let me stop for a second just because before we jump to the Senate race, because I want to bring Stephen and David in here.
Yeah.
So what's interesting, I'd love to know your strategy for voting because we're arguing, my friends and family are splitting in this race in the
Me
night.
too.
So
Me too.
it's,
We didn't even get to the reason why, right?
Yeah, but if we have a young candidate who's 26, totally anti-war, totally anti-APAC, and Kat Abu Ghazaleh, social media influencer. So my younger family members are voting that way, and some of my really Bernie older family members. Then we have the more mainstream lefty moderate Biss, who's a J Street candidate.
Extreme lefty moderate.
Yeah. But then there's an African American candidate who's highly qualified, Mike Simmons, but he's kind of run a bit of a lackluster race. And so a lot of my friends are also going for Mike Simmons, but he's polling like 10%. So I'm a strategic voter. I'd love to hear how you vote, David and Stephen. I vote for who has a chance to win and to beat my enemy. So I love Simmons, but I'm going to vote for Biss because I don't think Simmons can beat. I want to beat APAC in this race. And Stephen, I'll start with you. How do you go into the ballot box? Do you vote strategically or do you vote your passion, your number one candidate?
I would say 80% of the time I vote my passion. But I live in DC, which is 95% Democrat. So there's really I've never had to vote in a situation where that's an issue for me. So it's not like I'm in these districts where you've got these situations going on. If you're in DC, it's going to be Democrat. It's just which one is it going to be? And so I'm usually just voting my passion because I want this person in.
David, are you a passion voter? Or are you a
Mostly a passion voter, but there are times when I think we have to be really smart and strategic, and especially at the top of the ticket. But no, we have three. We have a tough primary like this for the Senate in Michigan. We've got a congresswoman who is AIPAC supported. We've got a state senator who is not AIPAC supported, but is another woman, McMorrow. And then we've got a third person, Dr. Abdul Saeed. He's a medical doctor and he's a friend of mine. So, I memean, I hope he wins.
Are you endorsing? Who are you endorsing?
I've contributed to him already. I haven't pulled that trigger on a public endorsement yet, but probably will.
But McMorrow might have the best chance to win just because of anti-religious sentiments, right, and things like that towards Muslims in Michigan. Or what do you think?
Well, there's some people that would call the race for that very reason. Bernie is a big supporter of the doctor. Okay. We need a Democratic doctor in the Senate. I'm advocating that he run that way. But no, he's a very thoughtful, smart guy, and he would be a good senator.
That's a good segue, Katie, to our Senate race, which again is a 3-horse race, right? And has some similar contours to the Michigan race. So, Katie, break down the 3 people running for Illinois Senate. And the Democrat, it's a blue state now, is going to win this race in the general, 99% sure. So who are the 3 contenders, Katie?
Raja Krishnamurti, current congressman of the 6th district, entered the race first, at least publicly, with money and bound to get more money. He's a big money raiser, is what I've heard since he started this race. I have not heard of him stepping up in Congress to be a voice of leadership on any of the hard issues. Okay, Robin Kelly, also a congressperson from the 2nd district.
Outside Chicago. Yep.
South side of Chicago. He's western suburbs. None of the congressional districts drawn in Chicago do not include city and suburban. So they're skinny little ribbons starting at the lake and going west, and except for ours in the 9th, which goes north, and not just ours, the 10th, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Robin Kelly, I liked Robin when she first announced. It was Robin who I was going to be for. And only because she became, her opponent became a target of IPAC did I really start seriously looking at Juliana Stratton, who was the front runner as soon as she announced, because she has the governor's support. She's lieutenant governor right now. I didn't feel like she had enough legislative experience to go into Congress, but when I look at the span of candidates across the board, no, she's got enough. And I am voting like you in that race too. Unfortunately, it's funny. Stephen, you're much younger than us, I think. I can't tell. You've got a friend over there.
Nah,
He's just looking good.
But I'm
You
glad
and
to
I are the same age.
yeah.
hear that you've been able to vote your passion. I mean, I voted my passion the first time I cast a ballot on my way to work, driving with my father. We cast our ballots in someone's basement on the south side, which is where the polling place was. He asked me who I voted for. I told him I voted for the opposition to Mayor Daley at the time, Richard J. Daley, the first guy. And he goes, "Why did you waste your vote?" And I said, "Well, I didn't waste it. I voted for who I wanted. I cast a ballot and it was said, I'm not voting for Daley." And I maintain that's a valid thing. But now that I've owned my own business, that I've run candidates, I hold out passion for about 5 people that I've worked for in my political career. And the first is Harold Washington. Bernie's on that list. Jan Schakowsky's on that list. David Orr. And there's a couple local people, but mostly it's for me it is strategy, and it has to be. And the other thing that you talked about, DC, we are in a blue bubble here in Chicago and somewhat in Illinois, but mostly because of Chicago and its suburban area that Illinois is blue. And we've always had a division in the Democratic Party. We've had the regulars and the independents. That's used to be the names. I was an independent, and still am an independent. And we like to be independent, don't we, in America? Even though we have no clue what it means. Um, and that is a stunning and continuing split. And who cares? I don't think it has a whole lot of weight in day to day. Maybe more locally. I made a note about that.
Katie, let me just interrupt 1 sec. I think what's interesting about this race is what's happening to the Democratic Party. Is you have independents, young independents, and older independents like us, right? And I see us debating on Facebook, and there's a split. And I think Gaza, the war, the genocide in Gaza, is playing out in a huge way in this race. There's a couple forces. I'm going to toss it to the whole group on this one. We have crypto money coming in.
Yeah, gambling money too.
Gambling money. We have the APAC money. We also have AI money coming
The
in.
morality, it's stunning.
So it's
Grifting.
My businessman brother tells me when he's in the room with these billionaires, they just laugh at how cheap it is, how low cost it is to buy politicians. And so compared to their net worth of $10 billion, like putting $1 billion into a race is really pocket change for these guys. So I think it's interesting to watch this Illinois race because you see all these big special interests colliding, and then you see these different wings of the Democratic Party. And I think to sort of close this conversation, I kind of want to get everyone's sense of what is the winning, especially with the Gaza split. I see the party almost split in two around whether you call this genocide or not. And I think, Dave, I'll toss it to you for this. Who's going to win in this battle, and what does it mean for 2028? How do you square the circle here if folks who are Democratic voters but are also APAC supporters, and then you have people who that's their number one issue, won't vote for any candidate who takes APAC dollars. How do you square that circle?
Well, I don't know. You can square it. I think this split will continue, but we have to keep our mind. For instance, let's go. You mentioned 28.
Yeah,
we really got to be strategic in how we approach this, and it's very important that we have a candidate that can win.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. That can win. One of the reasons I'm looking at the governor of Illinois, I think he's a possible candidate who could win.
Yeah.
And I know his history with the different PACs that you've just mentioned, but he's also done some reasonably good things, and he's a smart guy. And so anyway, I'm looking at him for that reason. But we cannot screw up 28. And the dance to 28 is happening right now. It started in November,
Yeah.
and it's happening right now, and it's through these primaries. It's going to happen through the summer, and of course, leading up to the election and following November nationally. So we just have to be clever and smart about this.
Stephen, what's your sense of the nationally, how this all breaks out, these splits in the Democratic Party and how we hold it together?
That could be another hour worth of discussion, but I think that the going to that passion versus strategic, and using, like, for instance, the Texas race where I think the right candidate won there. I think that's kind of that's strategic voting by and not that passion by Democrats has to be what we do. We just cannot, put people up that kind of like what MAGA does these days is just put up candidates that really just can't win. We have to be putting people up that are going to fall in that range where independents and liberal Democrats can come together and move forward with them. But I don't have a horse in this race, so I don't know who's going to win this Illinois thing.
Yeah. Katie, what's your sense nationally? What do we got to do?
Splits in the Democratic Party. Really not the end of the world. The most serious and significant and mattering split that the Democrats pulled was in 2016, and I'm sorry to say I was there for it. I was a delegate for Bernie at the Democratic Convention. Bernie and Hillary had pretty much equal numbers of delegates. I mean, very close, 1,200 each or 2,400 each. I forget the exact number. And we did the wrong thing. We did the wrong thing, and it changed the flipping history of the world. And that was Democrats folding for the corporate Democrat, as the kids like to say. And there's a certain amount of ageism working at that too, but and it's misogyny. Misogyny will always be with us. So, as will racism. And so we always have to be looking at what people who cannot fathom voting for a woman, a gay, a black, a Muslim, I mean, we have to deal with that, but we got to find people who know how to speak to the heart of the matter and are real, are sincere. It's really hard for people, evidently, to keep that sincerity once they get elected. We know a handful, and we should keep track of those people and keep an eye on them. And I'm glad that what's her name, Warren came in for BIS this week, and I think she's a quality, moral person, and I think there are a few of those in Congress. There may be some on the Republican side. It mystifies me that their silence in all of this. It totally mystifies me. But
once they say they're not running again, they suddenly become ethical. Well, let's leave it at that. We've hit the 30-minute mark. I think we're all strategic voters here. And any other final thoughts on? I'm going to put a whip around. If you had to place, I think Newsom is the Democratic nominee, despite just because of he knows how to control the attention of folks, and he knows how to navigate this challenge of hurting the party. But any quick predictions on the nominee in 28?
It's too early.
Too early.
Too early. And
yeah, I think Newsom might be a little too slick for some of them, but that's just me.
Yeah. I agree with you, Katie. I think I was always my impression of him, although I did say on the show earlier, another show, that what he did in California and putting that together on the redistricting was a phenomenal political act.
Top notch.
Yeah, top notch. So you got to give him credit for that.
You guys should be calling into Virginia. They have the most important race in the country this month. They have 4 people, a couple Supreme Court. They also have the question on the ballot of whether or not they should redistrict,
Yeah,
which
they do.
in order to help Democrats. And I understand people's qualms about that. But again, what's his face did it great. Newsom wrote a bill that said, we won't keep it this way. We know this is out of order. So you get to vote on it again in what, 2-3 years, whatever. They put it right in the bill.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Virginia has done that or not, but we need it.
Yeah, that's how they're pitching it in Virginia too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Look,
same.
we have-
They're using the playbook that he was successful with in California.
Good.
Stephen, I was going to toss it to you for the last word, but you went off screen. Are you still there? Oh, we missed him. We'll get Stephen's comment the next time here.
Yeah.
I think he must have. Yeah. You see, you guys said you weren't for Newsom, but then you just threw him some flowers. That's why I think he's going to win.
Well, you might be right.
Anyway, I mean, we should think of this in terms of an ensemble cast, okay? We can see Trump brought his ensemble with him, right? And they are killing us. So whoever the Democrat is has to look around the stage and say, I'd like to hire all of you if you're up for reelection, if you're open to, if you got some time for the next 4 years, you know. And we don't do that enough in politics generally.
Right.
That way.
Yeah, and let's not vote for Jill Stein this time. That's the only thing I beg people to do. No Jill Stein votes.
Well, you know, just
Mm.
since you raised that, I'll just say this. We lost Michigan last time in the presidential race because of
Gaza.
Gaza. Exactly.
And because the
And 100,000 votes.
and because the Democrats didn't have the cojones to let a Palestinian speak at the flipping convention.
Right.
What would
Yes.
that have cost them? Not the election. It would not have cost them the election, but not doing it did. And you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree. Well, thanks for joining us this Sunday on the
Thank
Civic
you.
Pulse. Thank you, Katie, for being our special guest and giving us
Yeah.
a down on Illinois politics.
Always nice to hear from Katie. She's got a good sense of what's going on, and
Yeah.
from a perspective of being smart, and from the door. She's like you. She's a door knocker, unlike me. That's how we got into this business. That's important.
That's where it's at. And you'll be out on election day, right, Katie? What are you doing election day?
Actually employed by the Board of Elections this time as an election coordinator, which means
okay.
I'm in a precinct that has 1,800 voters in it. And I'm hoping the judges are wonderful.
Katie and I are old enough to remember when those, it was quite adventurous in Chicago in polling places. You didn't know if votes were going to be tallied correctly or there was a lot of shenanigans 20 plus years ago, but it's cleaned up. We actually run pretty good elections now in Chicago.
We were good elections now. Yeah.
Partly thanks to student election judges.
Well, and thanks to David Orr, especially.
Yeah, David Orr cleaned it up too.
He certainly
Hey,
did.
great seeing you all. We'll have to talk David Orr on another show.
Okay.
Have a great Sunday. Take care.
Thank you. You all. Bye-bye.